Hi crafty friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to play with some snowy scenes today, and I've been playing with them the last few days and I really enjoy making them, so I thought I would recreate a video I made 11 years ago. I made a video about how to create snowbanks, and I didn't talk about how to create the snowfall effect in the video because I didn't like the way it came out. But I've been asked about that a lot. So I wanted to share today how to create snowbanks and that snowfall effect. So here's a very simple one-layer card. This is the one I'm going to create today. I love creating scene cards. And I've got a couple snowbanks, I've got my evergreen tree, and then I've got my snowy effect there. And it's super simple. This is a really pretty one-layer card. Very easy to create. If you want to step it up, you can add a nice little die-cut panel. I was playing with this layout for a card sketch challenge I was playing along with this week at the handmadecards sketch challenge. And I came up with these two scenes, and there's lots of possibilities with these kinds of cards. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this. So I'm going to start by creating the snowbanks, then I will stamp my image, and then I will create the snowfall effect. My last step is always to put in my greeting. I'm using parts of 3 different stamp sets today. I'm going to use this confetti, or I'm not really sure what this is supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be confetti. So I'm going to use that confetti stamp in the iconic imagery. I'm going to pick a sentiment from the greetings of the seasons, and I'm going to play with this little evergreen tree here from the frosted forest. So let me get started. I have a card base. This is just going to be a simple single layer card. You can step this up by adding layers if you want to. This is cut at 4 1/4 by 11. I scored and folded it at 5 1/2, and I'm going to do 3 different techniques today. So I'm going to be using some masking tape. I'm going to be using my white embossing powder and my heat tool, and I'm going to be using some blending brushes. So let's get this started. The first step is to create the snowbank. So I'm just going to open this card up. Alright, so I'm going to pull off a hunk of this masking tape, at least as wide as my paper is. Now you can use post-it notes, you can use regular copy paper for this, you can use masking paper. It doesn't have to be, this is 4-inch wide masking tape, it just happens to be what I have, and I'm just going to cut like an undulating hill. Okay, and in the process you really get 2 pieces that you can use. So I actually really like this one to start with, so I'm going to put this up here just like this, and I'm going to grab my blending brushes. So one of the techniques here is masking. I'm masking off my snowbank. I'm going to pull out one of my blending brushes. I really like to use like a light blue. Actually, maybe I'll try, I actually like to use a light blue, a light purple, a light pink. You could go with light gray. Like, there's lots of different ways you could go here. So I'm going to pull out Pool Party. And make sure there's not too much ink left on this. And I'm very lightly going to I'm going to give a light little blend of ink right along the curvy edge of this mask that I added. So I don't want to go too high, and I don't want it to be super dark. I just want it to be subtle. And when I peel this back, you can just see a hint of that. So now I want to take, let's see, I want to take a different portion of this, and let's see, I'm just going to mask it off part of the way. Make it a little bit lower. so I can sort of get a second hill there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just very lightly blending a little ink, and just like anytime I blend, I'm swirling my brush. I just want to get a hint of a second hill there, and maybe I can even add something else down here like that, and just add a little hint of, lots of snowbanks, lots of snow in the area. Okay, isn't that pretty? It's so subtle, but you get that that's snowbanks. I do like to add a little bit of ink just along the bottom, because I always feel like the bottom looks so stark white compared to the ink blending. So I just like to add a little bit down there. You can do the edges if you want to. And I just love the look of that. And the pool party works beautifully. Any light blue, light lavender, light pink, light gray will be perfect. Step 2, I want to stamp my tree, or whatever images. Say you want to do a reindeer, or you have a fox stamp, you want to put the fox on the hill. You can do that too. And grab my D block, because I'm pretty sure that one's big enough for the tree. And you can stamp 1 tree or 2 trees, as many trees as you want here. You can overlap them. So you could create a whole forest scene from this if you want to. So I'm going to put one, I think I'm going to put one right here. And maybe another one up here. And then maybe I'll stamp off over here just to give a hint of a tree, just like that. Now you can come back in and add a little ink blending under these trees. Like one thing I might want to do, that's not the right mask. One of the things I might want to do is just come back in with my brush and just add a little bit of ink blending toward the bottom of the tree. Same thing here. Just so it looks like there's snow under that tree, or a little shadow even. Okay, so you can add a little bit more if you want to. You don't have to. It's going to be pretty when it's done. So I've stamped my trees, I've created my snowbanks. The next thing I'm going to do is to create my snow. I want to create my falling snow. And this is pretty simple to do. That was Mossy Meadow, by the way, in case I forgot to mention that. And I'm pretty sure this stamp will do. And I'm using this. You can use any splatter stamp that you have. You might even have a Snowfall effect, a Snowfall stamp, or maybe you have a Snowfall stencil. You could use that as well. And just stencil in some white craft ink, or stencil in some Versamark and use white embossing powder. You can also create a splatter effect with splattering on some white craft ink or white paint. That works well too if you are comfortable with splatter. Now I'm going to add this little confetti stamp, and I'm going to try, and you won't be able to see this. I can barely see this. So I'm going to cover the entire background. Now if I had a nice big background stamp that did this, and I'm going to go over the trees, but I'm not going to cover over the trees completely. And if you overlap your splatter stamp, that's fine. It'll just look super snowy. I'm just going to keep doing this. And I just do a couple in front of the tree, but real snowfall falls in front of the objects in the scene. So if you want it to look more realistic, you want to stamp your snowfall in front. If you miss some spots, grab your white gel pen and fill in when this is all done. Okay, let me see if looks like I might have missed a couple spots up here and over here. I'm going to make sure I get the edges of my scene. Okay, so that looks pretty good from what I can see here. So now I'm going to pull out my tub of white embossing powder. Oops, I don't need it to be down there, do I? And I'm going to use my little spoon and pour this on here. And try to get the whole front of the card covered. You can do all the way to the ground if you want to, but I've been doing mostly to the top of the snow. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've added my Versamark ink, I've added my embossing powder. I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. Alright, now this is pretty difficult to see. I don't know if you can see that at all. You can see it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to add a little bit of mask. Since this is a one-layer card, I don't want to hurt the back of my card. And I have a tendency, I'm going to do a little ink blending next to make that sky pop. I have a tendency to swirl where I don't want to swirl when I'm using my brush. So I'm going to pull that same brush back out, and this time I'm going to pick a balmy blue. Now I'm going for a like daytime scene, so I love the balmy blue for the sky in these cards. Now you can do a nighttime scene here and use a darker blue, like your Night of Navy or your Misty Moonlight. You can throw a little purple in there. You can really have a lot of fun ink blending skies, especially night skies. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to rub this off on my paper since I just inked it up. And then I'm just going to ink blend over top of what I just heat embossed. And now you'll be able to see any spots I missed. And I don't want to go down into my snowbanks too much because I want you to be able to see those snowbanks. And if I go over it with this blue, it'll actually blend those out, and I don't want that to happen. So just be careful. I'm just going to add a little blue because I did add some snowfall down that way. And I do go right over my trees because the sky should be visible with the trees. And you can see a couple spots where I might have, especially on this side, I might have like stamped my embossing or my confetti stamp a couple times there, so I overstamped that side. But all in all, super happy with the results. Isn't that pretty? You can do anything you want with that sky. I love it. So I can remove this. Now all I have to do is add my sentiment. To be perfectly honest, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. It is a one-layer card. I just want to send a holiday greeting. I can write a more personal greeting for each of my friends inside this, and I'm going to stamp this right here because I left, like inadvertently, I left an opening where the S fits perfectly. just like that. There we go. Isn't it pretty? I did that in Mossy Meadow, just like I did the trees. If you want to add a little red, you can add some red in here. I feel like red would look really nice. And what I might add here is this little bird stamp. There's even a die for it. So, in fact, there are 2 dies. So I could stamp 2 little red birds. I feel like a little red would look nice on this card. And so I could do that, or I could pull out some red ribbon. I wish I had red twine. This Cajun Craze twine, that might look nice, just as a little bit of contrast, but I do feel like some red would be great. So I'm going to add those birds. So I did go ahead and make some birds. I'm going to leave them uncolored. I used Poppy Parade to stamp and die cut them. This stamp set has a coordinating die set, and I love that they included 2 little bird dies, so I could die cut a couple of those at the same time. And there you can see that with a little pop of red. So that actually feels a little bit brighter to me. So let me bring in my other cards. Like, there's so many things you can do. So this was a sketch I was playing with. I just tipped it in a couple different directions. And here's my original card. And the difference between my original card and this one, I used different colors here. I think I used boho blue for the sky here, or maybe it was a little bit of leftover Night of Navy, and I used fresh freesia for the Snowbanks. So I didn't feel like it needed more color. Same thing here, I didn't feel like this needed more color because I had used the fresh freesia. And here I used Pool Party and the balmy blue like I did with this one, and just added some additional color with the panel over the front to do the spotlighting technique on these 2 cards. So I thought that was actually pretty fun. So you can see, you can actually play around with it. You can use some of your embellishments, you know, add some ribbon or twine or a bow, anything like that that you want. When I'm sending out a bunch of Christmas cards, I try to add as few embellishments as possible so I don't have to pay extra postage, because I like to type up a family newsletter and tuck it in my cards. So I have extra post, or I have additional weight for that, so I try to avoid adding extra bulk with embellishments and things. But there it is, friends. You can do this as a simple card, simple 1-layer card, or you can do this as step it up with your dies and your punches and all of the things. But 3 different techniques here: masking, ink blending, and heat embossing. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and you can find a summary of different ways to do the snowfall effect on my blog at stampingimperfection.com. I have a PDF that has something that you can include in your technique album. If you're making a technique album along with me, I've done 22. This is the 21st or 22nd technique that I've created PDFs for. Here you can see I used a splatter stamp from the Irresistible Blooms, so I got different sizes of snowfall. This is Night of Navy here, very lightly added to the background, and so that is what I did in my technique notebook. So that I've got different ways that I have tried out to create my snowfall, my falling snow effect. So You can get that printable for free on my blog at stampingimperfection.com. If you're looking to purchase some Stampin' Up! Supplies, you can shop in my online store at shopwithkim.net. And I hope you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you are a new subscriber. I have lots of techniques coming along, and because I intend to fill this album with techniques, and hopefully a second album of this size with techniques, and I'm sharing those on my YouTube channel for free and on my blog with the PDFs for free as well. You'll also find my card recipe sketches with measurements and stuff that you can make your own file of card recipes and use those as well. So I hope you're feeling inspired, and I hope you find time to be creative today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, friends.